Okay, thank you so much for being a really awesome audience. I really appreciate that. Here's what we're going to do. For the next 15 minutes or so, we're going to take questions from the audience. Let me just say a couple of things first. First, I know that a lot of times we don't create space in our society to have this kind of conversation about abusive or unhealthy relationships, about dating violence, about sexual assault. And I know that a lot of times when we hear about sexual assault or rape, those kind of things, a lot of times it's like in movies or TV shows, and people are trying to get us to laugh about that. So what I want to remind you is, let's really take advantage of this opportunity where this space is created. And just know that these topics are things that we take really seriously. So if you are thinking that you might want to ask a question in order to get your friends around you to laugh, just hold on to that. Because we want to take this opportunity to have a really focused and serious conversation. The other thing that I want to remind you of is this, that if somebody, I would like to know if we can be in agreement about it, that when somebody raises their hand and asks a question, that we recognize and honor the fact that that person is not asking that question because, oh, I know about her and last weekend, or I know about him and his dad or whatever, right? That we just recognize that people are asking questions because we don't often have this space. And so they're taking the opportunity to use this time to ask questions that they might be having in their brain, that it's not a reflection of something that's happening for them personally. Can we agree to that? Are you with me? I see some thumbs up. Can you? Yes? Great. Okay. I also know that we're asking you to raise your hand and ask a question in front of all of your peers, and that can be a really tricky thing. But what usually happens is that there's this really quiet space. And then once a few people start asking questions, lots of people ask questions. So what I would love for you to do is to get that brave part of you going and use your courage to be one of the first people to ask questions to get the ball rolling so that we don't run out of time. So let's start with Robert. Say your name and what year you are in school.
My name's Robert, and I'm 16.
What year are you in school?
Oh, I'm a junior.
Hi, my name is Ashu. I'm a senior.
I'm Maddie. I'm a junior.
I'm Sarah. I'm a junior.
Hi, I'm Nick. I'm a junior.
Hi, I'm Priyanka. I'm a sophomore.
Hi, I'm Matthew. I'm a junior.
And hi, my name is Janelle, and I'm a junior.
Okay, so questions that you might have. Yes, thank you. That's a great question. So the question is, for the students who are involved in being in the outrage, did you all actually go through this stuff, or did you want to just help so that it doesn't happen?
I know for a couple people, myself included, I've been through an abusive relationship and some other stuff. So then when I heard about it, I was like, oh, I can help other people. And I know not everyone in this group has been, but they've either witnessed it, had a friend that's been through it. There's been other instances where, I don't know, it's just kind of like, yeah, let's help this out. Like, I want to help my friends out. I want to help people out.
Like Janelle said before, there's so many people at our schools and the hallways that we see those little things happening, and that's why a lot of us wanted to spread out this message and make sure that it stops.
There have been several students who have experienced abuse in their home, also been in abusive relationships, and also have experienced sexual abuse. And I think it's really important to point out that some of the students who have experienced those things have been females, but some of the male performers who have been in this program have also experienced those things as well. So it's not just something that happens to girls. I think that's something that we think about a lot, that it just happens to girls, and that's just not true. Like Priyanka said, dating violence and sexual abuse can happen to females as well as males. Thanks for that question, I appreciate it. Another question? Any other questions?
We got one in the way back. Or two,
okay.
Actually.
Well, like Allison said earlier, just saying like, hey, that's not cool when someone calls someone like gay or a bitch or a slut or things like that. Just say, hey, that's not cool. And you know, being a bystander makes you just as guilty as the person who's actually doing it. So it's really important to just speak up and turn the water down, you know?
And a lot of people could think it's not cool, but like they don't want to say anything because they don't want to get looked at as weird or different from their friends. So if one person says that's not cool, then maybe like other people are gonna be like, you know what, I completely agree with this person. That's not cool. And so maybe they'll join in. So eventually, like the culture, like that of the school could change significantly just from one person saying that's not cool.
And I mean, you gotta step up yourself and do it. Don't expect someone else. If you don't think it's cool, you need to step up and say it. Don't think, well, if someone else says it, then I'll join in with them. You need to be the person individually. Each one of us needs to act to stop disrespect in your school to create that culture.
And I think too, it's really, really tricky for somebody to tell somebody else, that's not cool, don't be doing that, when that person does it all the time. So if you are a person who uses those words or, you know, talks bad about people behind their back or gossips, spread rumors, that kind of stuff, if you're a person who does that, it's really possible that the change might need to start with you first before you start calling other people out on it. Because if you're doing it and you call other people out on it, nobody's going to listen to you. So maybe even asking a couple of your friends that are around you, like, do you think there are things that I do that are hurtful to other people's feelings? And just by asking that question, you might be really, really surprised at the answer that you receive, right? Because it's possible that nobody really wants to bring it up to you first, but when you open it up, they might say things that you're really surprised by.
If you know anyone who is in an abusive relationship, just know that it's never the victim's fault. It's never their fault because it's the abuser who's putting all the abuse onto the victim. And so many times, you know, like Allison said in the beginning, when we see people in an abusive relationship, we think, well, we wouldn't be in there. Like, why are you so dumb? Why are you in that kind of relationship? When those people who've been in the relationship know that there are good times in there too. And so just know that if you see people in abusive relationships, help the victim and always be on their side.
Because a lot of times the victims are isolated and they feel like they can't talk to anybody. So be sure that you're there for them and you're helping them out with their situation.
And the subject of this is not very funny. You don't know what people around you have gone through, so if you're laughing right now, it's not funny. That's just a diss to someone else.
I totally understand that. Sometimes when we talk about this information, because we don't normally talk about it like in a really serious way, it can be a little bit like unsettling, right? But I also wonder if a student, one of you or several of you, might be interested in sharing, do you know people who have experienced these things that we're talking about?
With what Allison said about the little things, in order to be a part of the Outrage, we had to go through probably like over 24 hours of training, and that's just learning about the different topics like teen dating, violence, and sexual assault, and learning all these different facts and all the signs of not just domestic violence, but just disrespect in general. And after we went through all that training, when we went back to school in our own high schools and we looked at the relationships that people had, not only boyfriend-girlfriend relationships, but also friendships in the hallways of our schools, we saw that those little forms of emotional abuse or maybe even physical abuse were just everywhere in our schools. And so we just thought that if they're in our schools, what goes on behind closed doors? Like what goes on that people don't see? And so that's what really drives us to do this message and to spread the word, basically.
Also, just a little side thing. On the back of your purple cards, there's a couple resources that you can go to. There's the resource for the online, an online chat with college students. You can blog, and it's anonymous. So you can go there and you can talk to them. It's 24/7. There's also a hotline number to call, and so you can call that and get people that are well equipped to help you deal with the situation.
The thing to remember about like this dad and daughter scene that happened here between Ashu and Janelle, like, I know that that conversation is probably not going to happen with your dad. I mean, there are a lot of, for some of you it might, but there are a lot of people in here who maybe don't even live with their dad or would never even talk to their dad about that stuff. So the idea is to talk to an adult person about it. It's really okay to talk with your friends about it, but sometimes your friends don't really know the information or advice to tell you. So if you want to tell a friend and then the two of you together to go to an adult to talk about it, and that conversation with the adult person, it should really sound something like the conversation that happened between the dad and the daughter. So if the adult person says to you, you know what, it's no big deal, that's how boys act in middle school, just ignore it and it'll go away. If an adult person is saying those kind of things to you, it's really important to find a different adult person to talk to, right? So be thinking about those adult people in your life that you trust, that you might be wanting to have that conversation with. On the way out of the auditorium today, or the gym, can two people with resources stand and two people with bookmarks, one at each door? You'll be receiving some information. One is a bookmark. On one side it says loves me and some really healthy behaviors in a relationship. And on the other side it says loves me not. And so it's a list of behaviors. If those things are happening in your relationship, that loves me not side, that might be a place to be like, I maybe shouldn't be hanging out with this person. And those two checklists, the loves me and loves me not, can really apply to any relationship, not just a dating relationship. So if you have a friend or a boyfriend or girlfriend who are having that loves me side, that could be a really good relationship. But if you have a friend or a boyfriend or girlfriend or somebody in your life who has that loves me not side, that might be a relationship that you really need to talk to an adult person about. The other card that you'll be receiving are resource cards, and it's a lot of really great information specific to teens. So especially that loveisrespect.org that Matthew was talking about, there's a 24-hour instant message, and there's also now 24-hour text messaging. And who you'll be talking to are 16 to 21-year-olds who have been trained about all this stuff, healthy and unhealthy relationships. And it's a really awesome way to stay anonymous and receive some really good information. And that information can be for you if you're in an unhealthy relationship, or it could be for you to help somebody that you know that's in an unhealthy relationship. So these 4 students will go to the 2 doors and make sure you get 2 things as you walk out. And there will be 4 students who will stay up here if you have some questions or conversation that you'd like to ask them that you didn't want to ask in front of the group.